In this episode, I am going to walk you through how to make any decision the right decision, meaning the one that actually works for you and creates the result that you are after, guaranteed. I'm also going to give you an example of how I have done this majorly in my life and business, and then a counterexample of where I attempted to do this, but failed majorly. Enjoy. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I am so happy you are here. Okay, so how to make any decision you make the right decision. There is a science to this. There is an energy to this. There is a strategy to this. I'm going to give it all to you. But where I would love to start is a scientific example of what this looks like and how powerful our minds are. Don't take my word for it. You've heard me say it time and time again. I know a lot of you believe this, but I want you to believe it even deeper than when you came and initially pressed play on this show. Because if you can really, really, truly believe the power of your mind, you can make the strategy that I'm going to give you in this episode work for you. Okay, so let's talk about this study. I learned about this study randomly listening to a TED Talk. This was a couple of years ago now, but the TED Talk was by a woman named Kelly McGonigal, and she was sharing about a study that she did through Stanford, basically on the effects of stress and how your belief regarding stress can physically manifest in your life and your body. And the study that she ran basically went like this, and I'm paraphrasing big time just to save some time, but this is the gist of it. Essentially, she took two groups of participants that were known to have or who believed had stressful careers. So she took groups of these participants, broke them into two groups, and taught each group something drastically different regarding stress. So group A, she or her team taught them what we typically will hear about stress and about the harmful effects over a long period of time, how you basically can give yourself a heart attack, you can gain weight, you can, all of these harmful effects. Basically doubled down. And they weren't lying to the participants, but they were just sharing what we know, some facts about stress and, again, the harmful effects. But group B, they got a very different message, regarding stress. They basically learned that stress, when thought of in a certain way, can be beneficial to your health. It can actually make you stronger and better and overall healthier. So they didn't go into all of the negative effects. They said, hey, if you can understand this, then this will actually make you a better, stronger, healthier person. So once they got this through all the participants' heads and everybody was clear on the effects of stress, good or bad, whatever group they were in, they sent each participant on their merry way back to their regular lives. However, they tracked certain parts of their health, right? They tracked their blood. They did, all kinds of different studies to monitor the health of all of these participants. And what they found was incredible. They found that group A, the ones that were basically saying, yeah, your career is making you sick, they got sicker. Group B, hey, your career actually is making you stronger. It's making you faster. It's making you healthier. They remained, and in some cases got healthier. Significantly different results than group A. So in a sense, this is, I guess, what we would consider the placebo effect, right? But this demonstrates the power of your mind. I've also heard other studies. I don't know if you've heard this one, but this one always blows my mind. They were doing some study and basically blindfolded these participants, gave them a leaf, and instructed them to rub the leaf on their arm. And then once they were done, basically said like, hey, that was poison oak. It wasn't, but they told the participants that was poison oak. And a pretty big portion of those participants actually created an allergic reaction on their body just from the idea that they had rubbed poison oak on their skin. But it wasn't. Okay? That is the power of your mind. You can physically make yourself healthier. You can physically make yourself sicker and everything in between. But what I want to convince you of today is how, in the same way that you can create a physical reaction in your body just from thinking and believing certain thoughts, you can make any decision right or wrong for you. Okay? And this is why you can see certain people follow the exact same strategy, make pretty much the exact same moves, pretty even circumstances, but get drastic results, because the underlying factor that really can't be measured or seen, at least when looking at people, is their belief on whatever it is that they're doing. There are a lot of different factors, and that is a major one that has a giant, if not the biggest impact regarding the results and the experience that you have based on your decisions or after you make a specific decision. So if you can get your mind to believe something is good or bad for you, you will manifest it, period. Okay. If the belief is strong enough, you will create that in your life. Now, if we know this and if we believe this, we get to play with this. We get to reverse engineer this. This is where there's no, like, what I love about this so much is there's no right or wrong decision, right? It's not like, there's this certain path that's laid out for you that's like, okay, if she follows these exact steps and she makes this move here and this move over here, then she can be successful and she'll create whatever. No. It has nothing to do with the decisions. It is my belief regarding those moves. So if you can get your mind behind what it is you actually want to do, then you can literally live a life by design. You can do whatever the hell you want to do, put out any kind of business, any kind of offer. Obviously, there's going to be work associated with that. Obviously, there's going to be time. There's definitely going to be some level of effort. I'm not saying that you just sit in a living room and you believe something will work. There's action to be taken. But if it's backed by that belief, if you can get your mind around it, then that is how you get to live a life by design. And it actually works for you. And you don't make a fool of yourself, right? And this is why also, conversely, people who play it safe, well, actually, there's a couple of different ways to look at this. People who play it safe, right? There are some people that believe that's the best move to make. There's people that are risk averse. They have an aversion to risk. They believe risk is bad. They believe in, living their life within some line, within some sort of box. That feels good for them. That feels safe. They have a belief that that's the right thing for them. Therefore, it works for them. It gets the result that they believe it will get. But then there's other people that don't want to be doing that, but they're scared to take the risk. They're scared to take the leap. And there's this deep belief that because they're not taking that leap, because they're not making the move, that they're destined to, have results that aren't a match for what they want. And then they create that too. So again, we can sum this all up with, if you can believe the thing is working for you, it will work for you. Okay, so let me give you some examples and we're going to go deeper into this. We're going to get way, way more specific. So I haven't told this story in a while, and I have so many different examples of how I've done this, but this is like, when I think about how I've done this, this is one of my bigger examples. This is one that's super, super juicy. And it got brought up last week. I went down to Alpharetta, Georgia to see Macy McNeely and Catherine Schubert. They're the sales girls. I've known them since 2018. We've been friends for a really long time. Hadn't seen them in a while. And they invited me to come be on School of Sales by the Sales Girls podcast, which was really cool. And during the interview, I can't remember the question that they had asked, but this got brought up and I told the story. Basically what I'm going to go way deeper here with you, but it brought up this story and I was like, man, we need to talk about that more. And here we are. So here's what happened. Go back to 2021. Okay. I had just made a huge pivot in my business where I was kind of playing it safe for myself and I wasn't happy about that. It didn't feel good. I had the belief that it was limiting me. That was certainly the result that I was creating for myself. So finally I was like, you know what? I'm doing things a different way. I started talking about more of the things that we talk about here. I started talking more about energy. I started talking just more blunt and boldly about the things that I wanted to share. I leaned more into offer creation and helping women monetize their genius versus simply focusing on teaching social media tips and tricks. And because of this shift, I started experiencing some really, really good momentum. And my business started growing in the back half of 2021. Well, around this time is when I found who would be my mentor, Melanie Ann Lair. I came across her on Instagram and she was it for me. I was just like, okay, I like everything that she shared and the way that she was sharing it. I was like, yes, like that's my girl. I'd inquired about her mastermind sometime, let's say like August or September. And her team got back to me and sent me the rates of the mastermind. And I basically shit my pants. I was like, whoa. It was, I'll just tell you, it was $15,555,000 a month. Okay. A month. That was not what I was expecting. So I was like, okay, well, really wanted to be in this mastermind, but the belief wasn't there yet. The money was there technically, but I had never made an investment like that before and I didn't feel confident with it. So I was like, okay, maybe this time next year, maybe at the end or the second half of 2022, I'll be there. Right? So I was like, okay, that felt good for a minute. But as I went on with, the rest of the year, all I could think about was this mastermind. It dominated my thoughts. I wanted to be in this room so bad. And I was in, I was in her membership. I was, taking like every class. I was in her energy, right? But like there was a part of me that was whispering and it was just like, it's time to be in the room. It's time. I wanted it. And there was a part of me that was calling me to take the leap. And at the end of 2021, actually it was December 31st, so New Year's Eve, 2021, I had a chunk of money that I wanted to spend out of my business so that it would be a business expense for 2021 and I wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. And I DM'd Melanie and I said, hey, I have $20,000. Can I put it toward the mastermind for next year? And she responded immediately. She was like, not yes, but hell yes. And I officially signed up for her mastermind December 31st, 2021. And in that moment, and by the way, this is not all the story, okay? I'm not about to say, and it worked out great. I wanted to be there. I put myself there and no. There's more. So I was so proud of myself, right? It was like, this is it. Like the minute that I made that decision, everything in my body was like, you did it. That was the move. This changes everything. This takes me from this type of business owner, this type of entrepreneur to this type. You know, if you're watching the video, my hand's up here, right? Like in my mind, does that mean that that's what actually happened? No, but that is what I believed took place in that moment. I shifted everything. I was not the same person prior to saying yes to the mastermind and after saying yes. I was energetically, I believe at a cellular level at that point because of my level of belief in that decision, that was the move that I needed to make to take things next level the following year and to continue to multiply my growth and my momentum. I just knew it with everything in me. Now, it's not that somebody came down from, it's not like God or an angel floated down, was like, this is it, you got to do it. And no. I essentially decided, so be it, right? So I did. I got in there. About a week, maybe 2 weeks later, I take a pregnancy test and it is positive. And I found out that I was pregnant with Rhett, my second son, which was great, right? Very, very exciting. And I had never been pregnant as an entrepreneur before. When I had Cruz, or it was after I had Cruz, I started this business. I had my digital marketing business, but it wasn't until after I had Cruz that I shifted, which made me a public facing brand and basically what I do now, just a little bit differently. So I had never been publicly pregnant before. I had never been pregnant as an entrepreneur. I had never navigated, the first trimester madness and exhaustion and sickness and also every pregnancy is different. You don't know how it's going to go. You don't know how you're going to feel. You're creating a life. Your body is fully transforming. So here I am, beginning of 2022, I just made the biggest financial investment of my life and career, which, by the way, at the time was about half of all of my revenue each month. Half of my revenue each month I handed away, right? And then on top of that, I had other overhead expenses and, life. So it was game time, right? It was time to freaking go and make it work. And I'm pregnant. And, it was such an example of duality because on one hand, I feel like the luckiest person on earth. I'm pregnant with my second child. I was so excited about that. I was so grateful about that. But then I was also equally as nervous, equally as the doubt started to creep in and it was insidious, right? It started with, I wonder how this is going to go to what if this and what if that? What if you can't work during your first trimester? What if you have one of those pregnancies where you're sick the entire time? What if, God forbid, something else happens? What if this? What if that? What if people don't want to hire you, especially for long-term stuff, because they know you're going to go on maternity leave and they don't know how you're going to be feeling and they don't feel comfortable investing in you because they don't know who you're going to be in a few months, So it felt like it was like a virus taking over my mind. It started as these little light, how this is going to go, to oh God, the clouds just infiltrated and my certainty and fire and passion for the year was starting to become dampened by this fear and doubt that was creeping in. And I don't know exactly what it was or how it happened, but I had a moment of what I now consider and call divine clarity, where I just, and I know enough about the power of mind. I knew it then what I know now. I know it even more deeply now, but at the time, like, I understood the power of your mind, and I just knew. I had this moment where I was like, okay, do I know what's on the other end of this pregnancy or even tomorrow, right? Like, do I know what's going to happen from this point moving forward? No, nobody does. Do I know if this is going to work out or not? No, nobody does. But is the way that I'm thinking about this situation and all the doubt and all the insecurity, is this hurting me or serving me? And the answer is very clear, right? Because even just a few days of carrying the weight of that doubt and letting it infiltrate me, it affected me, right? I felt significantly less creative. I didn't feel like working. All of the big moves that I want to make, the offers that I wanted to put out there, now I was overthinking every single move. I'm wondering, like, gosh, what did I get myself into? And how you know if something is hurting you or for you is it in alignment? Like, is it leading you in or out of alignment of what it is that you want? And I could see so very clearly how this doubt and how it was affecting me was leading me outside, as far away from what I wanted as you can imagine. So I just had this moment where I was like, enough. Worrying and doubting is going to get me nowhere. As a matter of fact, it's going to take me backwards. But what is the point? I don't know what's going to happen. So is it going to help to worry and stress about it? No, it's going to make it worse. It's going to exasperate it. So what if instead I allowed myself to get behind a different story? What if instead I allowed myself to believe, what if this could be my best year yet? What if I have an incredible experience this year and I become an example of what it looks like to be pregnant and grow a human and a business at the exact same time? And because I'm able to do that, I show other women that it's also possible. And I make them feel more comfortable and able to do that for themselves. What if signing up for this huge investment and getting pregnant basically at the same time was the best thing that ever happened to me and my business? What would that look like? And I just had this moment where I realized I'm at a crossroads. I can go left and think the absolute worst, or I can go right and think what I actually want to believe is possible. Anything can happen. So both are possible. Both are equally as true as the other one. So what do I actually want to believe? What do I actually want to make happen? And the choice was clear. So that day, I kid you not, like, I journaled on it. I should go find the journal entry. And I even want to say, like, I went as far to look myself in the mirror and do some mirror work. And I spoke this into existence. And I decided. It wasn't just a fleeting thought. It was a decision. In the same way I decided I was ready to have another baby, in the same way that I decided I was ready to join that mastermind, I decided this was going to be the best year of my business yet. That getting pregnant and all the things that I had done were the right moves for me, regardless of how they worked out. Not they're the best moves for me if they work out. If they go this way, then they were the right moves. If they don't, then I royally screwed up. No. Regardless of how they work out, these are the best decisions I could have made. Period. And when I tell you, I carried this energy into my day every single day for the rest of the year. That is exactly what I did. I freaking owned it. And there were days, of course, I woke up. And by the way, had an awful first trimester, awful for me. Yeah, I felt really crappy. I don't think I did. I mean, I did calls, but I don't think I created anything that first trimester. I was just absolutely miserable. But once that lifted, I was back in that game. And I just every day, and I journaled on it nearly every day. I'm getting back into journaling. By the way, that's just one of my favorite permission slips. One of my favorite activators for me is journaling. And I've done it for years and years. In 2022, I did it almost every single day. And this is what I affirmed about myself, that I am the example of what this looks like to work. I am the example of a woman holding babies and businesses, growing babies and businesses. I am the one. Every single day. 2022 was my best year in business yet. At the time. By far. Prior to 2022, I think in 2021, we closed the year with like $506,000. 2022, it was $764,000. And the second, from like September to December, it was rough. And you guys have heard me tell this story where, had Rhett in September and I lost my mom in October. And that momentum, it essentially stopped. So I really believe that and this is my belief, I could totally shift this. I fully believe that had things gone a little bit differently at the end of the year, it would have been a 7-figure year easily. So that's an example, okay? It was a huge risk for me. And I want to point out a couple of different things that I think are really important about that story. So, like I said, before officially joining the mastermind, I had the belief that if I got in that mastermind, I was going to take off. That was my proverbial rocket ship. I had that belief. It's not that, again, that was the case, right? It's not that like, that's how Melanie sold it or anything. It was just like in my mind, I wanted to be there so bad. And I just knew it was time for me. And I knew that if I got in that room, it would be the rocket ship for me. Now, here is something that's really, really important about this story. I, of course, before joining the mastermind, I, of course, played out both scenarios in my mind, right? I did the pros and cons, like did the thing, right? For any big move like that, like you're going to think about it. So I played out like, okay, if I make this move, what do I believe will happen? If I don't make this move, what do I believe will happen? Now, I could have finessed this. I could have probably rewrote this for myself. And who knows what I would have done had I have moved differently. But I had the belief that if I did not make this move, I was holding myself back fully. And that was all me. That was all my belief. But I had the belief, if you don't move, you want this so freaking bad. Why wait till a year? Like, what if I can shift into that woman now? Why am I waiting for some number on a spreadsheet to tell me who I can and cannot be when I could shift in and step into that version of myself, that avatar of myself right now? I can just choose that identity. And I knew if I did not choose that identity, no matter how scary it was at the time, that was going to be a detriment to me. I would regret it. The beliefs around it was not strong. Now, we can't go into the past, and all of this is speculation. But I can just about guarantee that had I have not joined the mastermind and followed the calling of my soul, I don't think I would have had the same results. Okay? Fully speculatory. Now, I would have probably, in the same way that I shifted my beliefs in the beginning of the year after I found out I was pregnant and I realized, okay, these beliefs are not serving me, I probably would have done the same. And this is the point, right? This is how to make any decision right for you. So in that moment, I had a very, this decision is the right one. This is the wrong one. So had I done the wrong one, I think I would have gotten different results because of my belief related to it. You following? But that's important. That's a very, very important distinction. Now, here's another important distinction. And I kind of already covered this, but I just want to say it real loud and real clear. Was it the fact I was pregnant and in this mastermind that got me the results? Of course not. Of course not. Did it help me that I was that close proximity to a woman who's grown, now a $70 million company on her way to a $100 million company? Did it help? Yes, it certainly helped for sure. Her mentorship made a huge difference, but it was the energy of me that got the results, because it was the energy of me that stepped forward every single day, put out the offers that I put out, showed up in the way, in the podcast, all the things that I did. I held that energy every single day and my business freaking exploded. Was it because I was pregnant? No. Was it because I was in a mastermind? No. It was my decision around those choices that created the circumstances, not the choices that created the circumstances. Okay? The choices didn't create the circumstances. My belief around them did. And the way that I showed up did. And took action did. Action's very important here. Now, another thing that we talked about with Kat and Macy, I can't remember if this was on the podcast or if this was before, because we did a lot of catching up. So I don't know if this will make the show or not, but I'm going to tell you here. We were talking about 2023, so the year after. Now, the way that I've told this story before, I'm shifting, okay? I'm going to start telling this story differently because I don't believe it serves me the way that I've been sharing it. But just straight facts, what happened is at the end of 2022, I had Rhett. A month later, unexpectedly lost my mom. So now I'm riddled with grief. I am now in the midst of two major life transitions. I'm holding a business that had just exploded. And what it felt like at the time was like I was, a freaking Porsche going 200 miles per hour. And then I just hit a brick wall. That's what it felt like. It was like everything just stopped. I stopped. Everything stopped. Now, get through the holidays, get through the new year. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll decide again. We'll make it happen. And I'm just going to make it happen again. And I attempted to go into 2023 with that same energy, right? Okay, I know what I did in 2022. I'm just going to recreate that. I'm going to do it again in 2023. But in 2023, there's a couple of things that happen, but mainly I got night and day results. Night and day. As a matter of fact, that was probably my hardest year in business. Maybe for outside of the first year in business where I didn't know what the heck I was doing and if this would ever work. That was really hard. I at least knew these things could work and I knew what I was doing. But dude, it was so hard. I mean, all year was so hard. And the results were not resulting. They were not resulting. And Kat and Macy, they were like, what do you think was different? What was the difference? And it goes back to what we're talking about right here. Yes, I tried to recreate that fire in me that I had in 2022. But fact of the matter was I was a totally different human at the end of that year. I was hurting, right? Like I was in every way, just like almost a fraction of myself in some ways, and then a whole other human in other ways, like not all bad, but again, night and day, a different human than I was in 2022, dealing with totally different circumstances. And it's that deeper belief that carries the weight. It's that deeper belief that you have that will end up manifesting in your body, right? If you believe you are putting poison oak on your skin and you know you're allergic to poison oak, you're going to create some sort of reaction for yourself. And I had these really deep beliefs around postpartum, around grief. I mean, I didn't even really have time. And that was another thing. Like, I wasn't even fully aware of what my beliefs were. I didn't give myself time to stop. I was just like, go, 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 without even like really addressing what was happening inside me. And what was happening inside me was postpartum hormones, navigating, having a brand new human in our family, being a brand new mom all over again without my mom. Nothing prepares you for that, right? There's no manual for that. So I had these beliefs around postpartum and around grief that were not conducive to being on freaking fire in your business, right? So it was a mismatch of energy, 100%. Now, what I could have done if I could go back in time, here's what I would do differently. I would craft a narrative and find examples and build my belief of what it looks like to take the time to heal and to give myself space and to allow myself to fully slow down and do what I need to do as a human, as a mother, as a daughter before I speed up. If I could go back in time, that's what I would have done differently. I would have decided in the same way that I did in 2022, I'm going to be an example of a woman growing business and babies at the same time. I could have decided I'm going to be an example of what it looks like to glamorize healing and to do whatever it looks like, what I need to do first as the leader of this company, as the leader of my family. One of them, as a leader of women and an example for you, I want to be an example of what it looks like to allow yourself the space to heal and find sleep again and find peace again and to fully mourn and to not hold fear that is going to slow you down or hurt all that you have built. That's what I would have done differently. And I would have built the belief that would be the best decision that I ever made in business. But I did not do that. I did not do that. I overrode every single feeling in my body, every single urge in my body to try and get back to certain numbers, to try and control. 2022 felt safe. Like I couldn't control anything that was happening in my family life and in my personal life because I was walking through, a new wild, wild west, a new frontier. And all I wanted to do was control it by at least having my bank account look a certain way. That felt like safety to me. And that did not work out for me. And let me back up. And this is where I'm rewriting the story, okay? Because what I've been saying is that did not work out for me. But of course it did. Of course it did. Because while I did not do exactly what I just articulated to you that I would have done in that moment, or that I would have liked to think I would have done in that moment if I could go back in time, I did what I did and it was perfect because now I'm sitting here and I'm telling you the story about it. I'm alchemizing it right here, right now. And 2023 was not all bad. It was fantastic in so many other ways. And there are things that I would do differently. And the fact that I can say that is a gift. And it was the right move for so many different reasons that I still probably don't know yet. Because somebody is listening right now saying, okay, I didn't need that permission, but I need that permission. And I'm going to do what I need to do. So, okay, how to make any decision the right decision is the belief behind it. It is the belief behind it. So you got to check those beliefs, right? You have to take currency and accountability for what's happening beneath the surface. So like I said, when thinking about this mastermind, it was very clear in my body, like it's time to move now. This is it. This is the ticket, the rocket ship. And it was very clear that if I didn't move and if I let fear take over and not make the move that I really, really wanted to make and that I was telling myself I was ready to make, the belief was that I wouldn't have as good of a year. Those were just my beliefs around it. So you got to check those beliefs. And you have to decide what you can hold. And what I mean by that is every decision comes with a level of risk. Every decision comes with a level of responsibility. So you can want to make a decision really freaking bad and feel as if you're ready for it. But the way that you want to think about this, like another way, is thinking about it from the lens of, okay, so if it goes as planned, great, that's best case scenario. And that is something absolutely to consider. But it is fair to ask yourself the question, and what if it doesn't go as planned? How you know if you can hold that decision is if you can handle if it doesn't work out as planned. So the way that I thought about this, with the mastermind was, well, what if my business results don't grow the way that I want to? I had other options. I would have figured it out. Canceling the mastermind was not an option. I am not somebody who cuts contracts early. That is not me. I do not believe that. I have deep-rooted beliefs of what that would mean about me and the karma associated with that if I was that type of person. So I am not that type of person. So getting out of the contract early was never an option in the first place. But I knew I would figure it out, even if we have to take it out of our savings, or if I had to take out a loan, we would have figured it out. So I felt good about that. I could hold that potential reality. Okay. So you want to kind of think about it from both. Like, yes, of course, we all would love the best case scenario, but if the worst happens, can you handle that? And if the answer is no, it's not time to move yet. No biggie. And by the way, that can shift so freaking fast, because the first time I heard about her mastermind, the investment, and I got the sticker shock, in my mind, my mind was not there yet. It just wasn't. But within 3 months, I was there. And I knew I was there. And I could hold that. Okay? So then you decide, okay, what do I want to do? Do I do this thing? Do I not do this thing? And here's the key. Whatever decision you make, yes or no, you make it with your whole heart and you hold that mother freaking decision. Okay? All the way. So if I were to do this again, well, actually, let's stay with the mastermind example. Okay? So mastermind example, I did it for the first year. 2023, I ended up re-upping again, and I stayed in for a second year because I knew in that state, I needed mentorship more than ever. And I'm so proud of myself for keeping myself in the room even when things were hard. That was not an easy decision, but I knew the beliefs around it, right? I knew, okay, I need mentorship. This is going to be good for me. If I get out of this room, it's not going to be good for me. Those were my beliefs. So I'm thankful that I moved forward and I stayed in the room because it served me very well. Now, when year 3 came around and I had the opportunity to stay in, I did not feel the same. And it was nothing about Melanie. It was nothing about the space. I loved the space. There was a part of me absolutely that wanted to stay in the space. But there was also a bigger part of me that knew it was time to integrate and do my own thing for a bit. To take a little space and not be so immersed for a bit. And I didn't know how long that was. So when I made that decision, I decided this is the best decision for me right now. And I've continued in that it still feels the same. And so be it. But you got to hold it, right? It doesn't serve you if you decide, okay, I'm going to do this thing and then go down the doubt rabbit hole and question yourself every single day after that. It also doesn't help if you're like, okay, I said yes, I'm doing this thing. Okay, but I'm not going to feel good until it works out. I'm not going to allow myself to feel like this is the right move until the money starts showing up, until No, that is not going to work for you. No, the results show up because you feel good, because you believe that they will show up because of that decision and every other decision that you've made prior to that. And you decide again and again and again and again before the results and after the results and during the results. And even if the results look different than you think they should, you stay committed to the choice. You stay in. You're all in. That is how you make any decision you make the right decision. Decide again and again and again, and you keep deciding regardless and independent of circumstances. Because we don't know what is best for us. We don't know what would be the best path or the fastest path to where we're wanting to go. We may think it looks one way, but we have such a limited perspective as humans on this planet and working with our very limited minds. If you believe in God, if you believe in spirit, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in a higher power, you have to believe that the universe absolutely has your back. And sometimes the fastest path to where you want is down a road that looks shitty for a little bit. So if you think the only way this is the right decision is if results look exactly like this at this specific time, you are limiting yourself. And not only that, but you will manifest the opposite of what you want because of that belief that things have to look a certain way. And if they don't, you messed up and you chose wrong. If you believe you chose wrong, you will prove yourself right. If you believe you chose wrong, you will prove yourself right. So if you don't want to do that, don't think you chose wrong. Choose what you want, what you can hold, and don't change your mind. Decide again and again and again. And if you want to make a specific choice, but you cannot shift doubt or negative belief around that thing, you are better off not doing it right now. Even if you want to, you're better off not until you can get that belief behind the decision. Okay? I hope this was helpful for you. It certainly has been helpful for me to revisit this and reignite my own belief in what I'm doing and look at what's happening beneath the surface. This is the best work you'll ever do. I promise you that. I promise you. It's not the decision. It's not the strategy. It's your belief and thoughts about the action and the strategy. Okay? I love you. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you when I see you. Bye.